So this talk consists of reflections on aspects of ayahuasca and identity, a subject I've explored in the past. My doctoral dissertation focused on gay and lesbian ayahuasca users' identities, and I've been interested in Eastern philosophy, especially as it pertains to the idea of a self for some years. I myself have been a member of Santo Daime for 20 years and have consumed ayahuasca in a variety of contexts. Ayahuasca is a medicine that has the power in some people to heal trauma, to inspire insight, and to change habits. The mechanism for these powers is currently under research, but some fundamental observations can be made. The ability of ayahuasca to treat depression and drug addiction is a topic that has been explored in research studies that point to a high rate of success compared to standard treatment for these disorders. What special power does ayahuasca have that contributes to these successes? One theory is that these conditions are a result of a malfunction of the ego. Anger is famously the flip side of depression, and anger is typically a protective response of the ego to fear of assault. Defenses rise and the person is cut off from the experience of the world, from social engagement, and from their own pleasure. What then is being assaulted when we speak of ego? It is the perceived identity in whatever stage of therapeutic or spiritual evolution it has acquired in its journey. The ego is the actor, and shifts in its role during an ayahuasca session can be seismic. Ayahuasca has the power to reorient identity, helping people remember their mission in life and showing them the power they have to overcome obstacles to create the lives they imagine could be possible. In my research on gay ayahuasca users, where I asked questions directly about identities, several said that they had discovered their calling as healers or that they had a mission on earth, often connected to ayahuasca. I have observed this phenomenon also in other circumstances since then. In fact, I am also a person for whom this is true, and I devote a considerable amount of my free time promoting the responsible use of ayahuasca, as I feel indebted to the drink for all it has shown me in my own life and protective of its reputation. Besides the commitment to the drink itself, new understanding of nature and interdependency arise as the boundaries of the ego shift to include more elements of the ecosystem on which it depends. Ayahuasca's effect on interpersonal relationships is also notable. Poor interpersonal relationships often characterize drug addicts and depressed people, in particular, a tendency to isolate and withdraw into a cushion of endorphins or the darkness of despair, respectively. Working again on the boundaries of the ego, feelings of gratitude for others in one's life, feelings of love and connection, experiences of compassion for the human race, and increasing solidarity with them are often reported in ayahuasca accounts. Patterns of interdependency become apparent in various ways to the ayahuasca drinker, and connections of all kinds are observable. In many cases, these insights have power to affect the real-life relationships of drinkers, having the positive effect of enhancing interpersonal connection and honesty, resulting in greater feelings of support and care. In my research, participants noted they also tended to allow toxic relationships to wither, creating a safe environment for healthy personal relationships based on trust and compassion to flourish. Shifts in identity are powerful agents of change. The shift in self-conception from victim to victor can be a decisive factor in the journey of life. Ayahuasca shows drinkers deeper levels of awareness, and using that knowledge, people can alter their perceptions of themselves, resulting in a change in their identity. Who we are before we drink is never who we are after, is something more or less believed by many ayahuasca aficionados. Psychotherapy and psychedelics both assist in helping redefine identity. Psychotherapy may focus on ego defenses and issues stemming from identification with the ego and its journey to wholeness, while ayahuasca can loosen the strict boundaries of self-perception and allow other information and perspectives in, introducing a new dimension of healing. The teachings of ayahuasca are exquisitely tailored to the life and understanding of each drinker, which can result in the common report of experiencing years of therapy in a single night of drinking ayahuasca. The sides of the personality that are not acknowledged are represented in images and presented in a way that the observing ego can appreciate. Such realizations can unleash torrents of emotions that wash away blockages and limits. Physical purging by vomiting or defecating also plays a part in opening up the body and mind so that limitations can be eroded and expelled. In indigenous communities that use it, ayahuasca has been seen to have the role of defining groups of people and can be found in several origin myths. Anthropologists seek to follow the way ayahuasca spread and was adopted by various indigenous groups, noting its dispersion through meetings of tribes and in the exchange of songs, stories, and medicines at gatherings and along river routes used by indigenous people as well as missionaries. Where it spreads, it often becomes central to the identities of the groups who use it, even when it has been more recently adopted. Modern ayahuasca use in the North is defined by ayahuasca church groups' identities as well as lineages descending from indigenous shamans who have initiated Westerners into their ayahuasca practice, similar to Buddhist teacher lineages. Westerners who assume the identity of ayahuasca shamans in an indigenous format are also influenced by the drink to expand their personal identities, becoming healers or spiritual leaders in their North American or European environments and singing Icaros in the language of their teachers. Diets of special foods and prohibitions help reinforce this new identity from the inside out. Additionally, ayahuasca's relationship to identity can be observed in the phenomenon reported by both shamans and ayahuasca explorers, that of being in two places at once, or being two different beings at once. For example, a shaman may be sitting in front of her client and also traveling the Milky Way as a jaguar at the same time. A daimista may be dancing and having an experience of speaking with celestial beings at the same time, and so forth. The boundaries of the body and space cease to apply, and drinkers may also go back in time to early trauma or teenage events to view them from another perspective, and even travel to previous lives or report experiences from the future. Ayahuasca's use in treating trauma, discussed at this conference by Dr. Gabor Mate, is one valuable use of this medicine, but beyond that, this medicine provides even well-adjusted individuals with enhanced peacefulness, satisfaction with life, and spiritual nourishment. The field of positive psychology provides some reference for the experience of people who find their non-pathological lives enriched by the practice of drinking ayahuasca. Positive psychology is the study of ways life can be made more rewarding and enjoyable without offering a cure for pathologies. Qualities that have been reported as effects of ayahuasca, as seen in the literature, include assertiveness, joy of life and liveliness, less signs of anxiety with drinkers being more optimistic, self-confident, and emotionally mature. Effects of enhanced mindfulness, personal empowerment, hopefulness, improvements in quality of life, increased subjective feelings of connection with spirit, nature, self, and others, increased insight, the ability to reframe cognitive structures, enhancement of trust and social feelings, and a richer, more joyous life. Drinkers reported letting go of negativity, being less cynical, feeling more genuine, feeling more acceptance of themselves, increasing confidence and calmness, feelings of compassion, generosity, humility, recognizing the importance of love, feeling a responsibility to others, an emphasis on simplicity, not harboring bad thoughts about others, and gratitude. Some says ayahuasca helped them make sense of their lives. Many people report spiritual experiences where they became aware of their true selves or witnessed their personal power in limitless form. Combining Western psychology with Eastern religious concepts, we can conceive of the action of ayahuasca on the ego as malleable, able to contract it and expand it. Contractions can consist of feelings of remorse, darker journeys where one confronts one's failings and regrets. These are not uncommon in ayahuasca reports, but they are often recognized afterwards to have been healing or illuminating. The expansion of the ego can result in mystical states of all-inclusive awareness, love, and humility, or in the unfortunate side effect that is sometimes seen in enthusiasts, the ego reinforced by witnessing its own glory, believing it has a dominant role to play in the unfolding drama that can become full of certainty to the point of arrogance. The hungry ego, once fed a delicious diet of personal affirmation, may become ravenous. The mix of ego with psychedelic experience can have this negative outcome. Further, those with psychiatric problems resulting in a fragile connection to the ego, as in psychoses, may find the results of ayahuasca to further disintegrate their ego strength, causing increased disorganization and confusing boundaries. Changes in the ego can also result in changes to identity, giving glimpses of a real self that is a beautiful light full of compassion. That light may be interpreted in a number of ways, but its underlying power is to heal the body and the mind. Is that light ayahuasca, or does ayahuasca simply have the power to shine through the obscurations of the ego structure so that the ever-present inner light can do its work on the conscious mind, which is usually so bound in day-to-day discursive thought that this force is completely hidden? Because ayahuasca is an outside agent and these mystical experiences are not the result of years of mind-calming meditation, mindfulness training, and yoga, the inner world that is illuminated can be full of unresolved trauma and difficult experience imprints that are usually kept repressed by the ego in its efforts to feel safe and in control. During the short period of the ayahuasca experience, these revelations can feel shocking, or can elicit waves of sorrow or horror. In the end, however, integrating these parts back into the awareness of the ego is healing, even if the integration may be difficult. This is why integration therapies after ayahuasca sessions can be valuable following some experiences. Ego death, or as Jung called it, psychic death, is also called ego loss. It signifies the complete loss of subjective identity. In Jungian theory, this precedes a rebirth into a new identity. Timothy Leary coined the term ego loss in regard to LSD experiences. Ego death is the second stage in Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. Ego death in Buddhism is related to understanding one's true nature, which leads to a permanent awakening from ego fixation. With psychedelics, and particularly with ayahuasca, the experience of seeing one's true self can be fleeting, and if someone is not prepared for it, horrifying, with the participant, if unprepared, panicking and grasping at illusory ideas of self that offer no certainty. Stanislav Grof describes ego death in the context of psychedelic use. The main objective of psychedelic therapy is to create optimal conditions for the subject to experience ego death and the subsequent transcendence into the so-called psychedelic peak experience. It is an ecstatic state characterized by the loss of boundaries between the subjective and the objective world, with ensuing feelings of unity with other people, nature, and the entire universe and God. Mystical experiences are by nature an insight into the nature of the self and inform questions of identity with paradoxical presentations of all is one, or one can only live by dying. Ego inflation may feel powerful, but can lead to deteriorated relationships and less empathy for others. Similar to the theories of positive psychology and Naranjo's conclusions about the essential good nature of humanity that underlies all our flaws, it appears ayahuasca only reveals what is already in place, indicating a path through the structures built unconsciously to protect the ego that eventually come to block out most of the inner-generated light. In conclusion, I would like to point out the stimulation of feelings of gratitude that ayahuasca can produce. This gratitude can manifest among many ways as a commitment to saving the natural environment in which ayahuasca grows, to helping heal the sick or guiding the lost with a new recognition of the brotherhood of all people, or to helping spread the news of ayahuasca to people and places it remains unknown to, with the hope that others may benefit from its powers. Although ayahuasca has existed for centuries, it is only now that Northerners are aware of it and thirsting for its personally transformative effects. I would like to express my own gratitude for its effect on my life, and I hope I can repay the gift I have received. Ayahuasca, more than other psychedelics, has a persona, a teaching presence that is able to root out and display the most intimate secrets, desires, and wounds that have been hidden from the ego. This inspires reverence. This incredible intimacy and vast knowledge, in which a full grasp of our unlimited selves existing outside our normal perception becomes magically apparent, flooding us with sensations and emotions, clearing the way for peace and silence, inspires gratitude and indebtedness. Humility is a byproduct of gratitude, and together they may be the greatest reward, the antidote to the bloated ego that consumes to reinforce its identity. How remarkable that this is the result of drinking a beverage. So I've finished way early, I guess. Sure. Okay. Well.
I'm getting there. Clancy's an important feature of this event, and I thank you very much for coming to fill in for us this morning. She's a neighbor, and I understand that people didn't hear me read her biography, so I'm going to find it here. But you also have some time to take questions, so just give me a sec.
Sure.
I know it's here. There it is.
I think I went
There you
fast
go.
because
Yes, this is all an improvisation, and we're doing very well. Clancy Cavnar has a doctorate in clinical psychology from John F. Kennedy University. She works at a dual diagnosis residential drug treatment center in San Francisco and is research associate of the Nucleus for Interdisciplinary Studies of Psychoactives. She combines an eclectic array of interests and activities as a clinical psychologist, artist, and researcher. And thank you very much for leaving time for us to have questions.
sure. Are there any questions?
And I haven't drunk the wine in 2 years, and yet I'm still working on the last one. And it was a life changer. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's very different than the other psychedelics because it seems to have a personality and a teaching nature. Anybody else?
Clancy, I was very struck by your emphasis of the idea of humility as one of the things that you can really learn from ayahuasca, and I wonder if you could say more about that.
Yeah, I think that is probably the most key element in being able to use the lessons that ayahuasca teaches, and is the thing that stands in between people. I don't know how familiar you are, but there are some people that just start to get a big ego expansion when they drink ayahuasca, and if they're not humble, they lose everything. I think they lose all the lessons, and I think in general in life that's the case, that the more humble we can be, the more we're going to learn and the more happier our life will be. But it's specifically like when you're feeling so full of yourself, you have to remember that that's like everybody has the same thing inside of them. It's not you in particular. It's just something you are seeing. You have the privilege to see.
Thank you. I'm just coming here to support what you're saying, and I see the importance of this medicine that has come out to the world and bringing the gift to make us belong to as the human family, realizing the importance to take care of the grandmother. And it's a very simple concept, but I see the boom and how much thirst are from all kind of people from different walk of life, and they are jumping on this. And it's, for me, this is the gift that is the mother giving us to take care of ourselves, because without her we won't be able to continue. So
Yeah, a lot of people receive messages about ecology, and if they drink it in the forest, about how important the jungle is, and how I think it's that loosening of the boundaries of the self that show you that you're very dependent upon nature and other people, and that we're not isolated. Thank you.
Hi, would you be willing to speak a little bit more about your artwork and sort of the interplay between the medicine and the artwork, and also it sounds like you're a person who does many things, and how the artwork also plays into your therapy work, perhaps?
Well, in the longer version of this, which I did on Thursday, talked about integration and how important it is, and it's become a very popular topic now in the world of ayahuasca, and just finding a way to express your experience and sort of get it outside of yourself and look at it. For me, that's what painting or drawing, my visions that I've had, which are more or less similar to what I experience. But I think for people who drink ayahuasca, it also makes people more creative, like musically. People who don't play an instrument will pick up an instrument or start to sing or do different kinds of artwork. It's like it breaks down some boundaries of rigidity that people have. So many people, like I've taught art and I've also run art therapy groups, and to hear people say they can't draw, I mean, it just infuriates me because everybody can draw. It's not, what they're really saying is I don't draw well enough to show anybody what I'm doing. But for me, I mean, I can draw, and I think I can draw, so, but it's a way of remembering and processing that. And I think for everybody that drinks ayahuasca, if they were to try to do some kind of drawing or as any other expressive arts that help contextualize and integrate that experience, I think you'll get more out of the experience and remember it better too. All right, thank you.
I don't usually ask questions from this position, but I have one. I know that there are people who go back to this medicine in a very compressed time frame, many, many times.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that's a traditional practice or if that's one that has evolved as it's spread to places outside its traditional environment. And if the medicine ever says to people, what are you doing back here? You didn't take care of what I told you the last time.
I do know people that have said that ayahuasca told them to slow down or stop drinking. And also, I know I just went to a really nice ayahuasca retreat, the Temple of the Way of Light, and they had one, I can't remember specifically, but it was like 8 sessions in 10 days or something. And they said, well, we've designed this because there are people that are just so busy with their lives that they have to make just this short period. We're trying to give them. But it's true, like processing is important. And Santo Daime meets about twice a month. And the idea, some researchers have said that the antidepressant effects wear off in about 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, it's time to take another dose to keep. But I don't know, my own opinion is if you do a whole bunch in a row, how can you, you can just hope that it works, but you can't really keep track of what's happening and the changes that are happening. And changes will happen, but I think that's more a condition of modern capitalism and people's not having time off from work and situations like that, especially when people go to South America and they just fit it all in and then they come back. So they've already done jet lag and they've had different food and they've had a new environment and then they're drinking ayahuasca and then they come back. And I mean, I think that might be the reason so many integration things are cropping up, because people have blasted themselves and haven't given the time necessary. Even for me, I took time off from work and then I had to go back on Monday after 2 weeks of being in the jungle and start working with, psychotic drug addicts, and it's a lot. Right, it's a lot, and I do think I lost some parts of the experience by having to do that. And they continue the diet in the center. They ask you to continue eating certain foods or not having alcohol or whatever, but when you're, in San Francisco, that is a small preventative against having the assault of all the stuff that's going on.
Hello, I had a question about your experience with art therapy and some of the powerful moments you've had, either linked with the medicine and working with people or stories, or just your experience with the art therapy process.
Well, my experience doing, leading art therapy is, to call our group art therapy is a kind of an overstatement, because we give them coloring sheets and paper. We give them a vague idea of what we'd like for them to do. This is at the place that I work. My own process is very different, and I don't really consider that I'm doing art therapy on myself, but I guess for me, doing the work is to help remember the state and to sort of recreate the elements that I remember about it, so that it's like a key to look at it and remember that experience and what I got out of it. So I'm not a trained art therapist. I'm a psychologist, but I didn't specialize in art therapy, and I went to art school, so I'm an artist, but I've never really, I feel like if you're an art therapist, I'm not going to be talking about art therapy concepts that because the art therapy that I'm doing is more like trying to just get people to do something in a treatment center besides sit around and look at the walls. I know that sounds awful, but it's pretty basic. It's like a lot of times they just color. So it's more like getting them to do a group activity, do something that is not, it's relaxing, it's good for them, but I'm not doing the real work of art therapy that I think art therapists are doing.
Well, Clancy, we don't have more time for questions, but I know there are people who have questions, so I hope you'll stay around and answer them.
Yeah, you can talk to me afterwards if you like. Thank you very much. Thank you.